Okay. Paladin helping with murder for justice, hopefully. I'm gonna bring him in. I'm not gonna murder him.
This is going to be fantastic. Just wait till they hear about this back home.
Oh, well. Oh dear. This might be problematic. So I should probably actually bring these guys out like a little bit more like so. Oh.
If you say so.
Got to speak up? My...
You feel her essence humming and buzzing. Another personality and set of memories lies dormant within her soul, convulsing as if in fitful sleep. The contours of the dormant soul are sharp, ragged. As you reach out for it, it seizes you violently. You are standing in a darkened feast hall. Sturdy tables and benches have been stacked against the floor in the far end of the room. You know it won't be enough. A few dozen other dwarves from your tunneling crew wait with you, shovels and pickaxes in their shaking hands.
Zenove, please. If we go now, we can get behind the barricade. We won't do any good here.
He's right. You hear agreement and the quiet murmur of the others. But Arms Warden Martin ordered you to hold your ground here. Yet in those rising whispers, you hear the opening bars of mutiny. You've never tolerated insubordination from your crew, and you aren't about to start. So, you heft your pickaxe and swing it into the man's skull. He collapses, and the others fall silent. The acrid odor of urine rises from his body.
We're gonna go down fighting. Anyone who feels differently can settle it with me right now.
Your voice is hoarse from hours of shouting orders, but no one else moves. They cast their own eyes down on the flickering torchlight. Something thuds against the door. The others raise their weapons, picks, shovels, and a few swords, but they don't dare flinch. Your own pulse pounds as at your temples. You pull back from Taina's soul, but you feel Zenove's wrath ferocity tugging at you still. Her essence thrashes, lashing out at an unseen enemy. Zenova is powerful, but dangerous too. Her fury has anchored her to old and threatening memories. Tana, however, seems unaware of any of this, and she blinks back at you with cloudy, placid eyes. I would probably end up choosing her. Well, that was a bit unfortunate. Hopefully it doesn't crash on me again. I guess that was the game saying pick her? Probably. I'm gonna see if there's any more than her though as well. Like hopefully there's more than her. Hopefully.
Got to speak up?
Okay.
Feels like it's hardly worth putting the huts back up.
Better than standing out here shivering.
Let's go in here real quick, see if there's any dwarves we can talk to in here. Hmm. All right. Hmm. Oh, there's no more? I suppose that's it. I think that's it. Unless there's someone like way up here. Okay. Yep. We're going to pick her. Because I'm not going to awaken a thief. No thank you. Not a thief.
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what.
A tremor passes through Tana's face, and then her rumpled skin goes slack. Plus, the other one was so sweet and bubbly. I mean, after a rattling cough, she blinks like someone slowly coming to consciousness.
That name. It carries memories of death, war, fury, the taste of blood. What do you want with it?
If she attacks and I have to punch out an old lady, I don't want to hear about it from anybody. There is nothing I can do. I need to enter Durgan's battery.
What trickery is this, stranger? You think a Pargrin would so easily betray her own people?
The last of your people disappeared hundreds of years ago. There's nothing left to betray. As Zenova's rage is a heavy fog that clots and thickens, choking Tana's fading consciousness. Zenova herself is overwhelmed and she forces Tana's eyes in narrow slits.
Lies! Arms Warden Maroon will see you cast into the White Forge!
Look around. Would you be here stuck in an old woman's body if I were lying? Zenova at last overwhelms Tana, screaming through the old woman's mouth. In that instant, Zenova's psyche expands, filling you with a lifetime's worth of memories and experiences, including a set of verses that you know to be the cantic of Durgan's battery.
Hammers of Durgan, ring loud. May the anvil's deep music resound. Walls of the battery, safeguard our works from marauder and wilder alike. Abidun's faithful travail by the forge and the fires that brighten the ore.
It's too much for Tana's dying consciousness. It shrivels and vanishes as Zenova, now in full control of Tana's body, attacks.
Got to speak up?
I mean,
That name. What trickery is this, stranger? You think a Pargrin would so easily betray her own people? Lies! Arms Warden Maroon will see you cast into the White Forge.
You're mistaken. Calm down.
You'd rob us of our steel and leave us bleeding. Hammers of Durgan, ring.
Ah, I don't necessarily want to lie. But if that's how it's gonna be in order to...
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what it was. That name. What trickery is this, stranger? You think a Pargrin would so easily betray her own people?
I mean no harm.
Lies! You'd empty our halls if Coinmaster Zoltan threw our doors any wider. Arms Warden Maroon warned us about the greed of outsiders. You'll stay out of Durgan's battery while I'm...
I know the door with a leaf depicting an anvil and a crenellated walls. Sound familiar? Her eyes fly wide, and she recites something enchanting rhythm. She takes a deep breath, and her eyes droop. Dana, listen to my voice. This is your body and your soul. Don't let Zenova take it from you. She lets out a great sigh, expelling the rage and trauma of her past life like so much vapor.
Did I nod off? My, but I had the strangest dream. So much work to be done. Pardon me, but I'd better check on those miners. At the rate they're going, it'll be another year before they clear that blazing shaft.
Yeah. It's all a dream. Oh, that was good. Durance returns to the stronghold with average reputation with Defiance Bay and items. That's better. We got that one, chat. Okay, so...
I take it you've met Galvino.
Examine Reningald's soul. Your awareness settles beneath Reningald's skin. You feel yourself looking through her eyes upon a time-faded memory. You're standing in the inn. The room is stifling, but it's the body heat of so many furious villagers, not the neglected fire pit. And that's drawn sweat from your pores. Your husband waits by the door about as far as he can get from the assembly. He holds Uldric, whose cheeks are bright as he watches the adults bicker with wide, fearful eyes. You never realized how badly your neighbors stank, but something rank and repulsive rises from them as they pack together in this room.
How much did the old snake pay you, Sinahiod?
It's Grinde, the head fisherman, gabbing a furious finger toward the back of the room. Signhood, your erstwhile mayor, squirms in a corner, pinned by the accusing stares of the entire village. Oh, those eyes, their cruel, porcine eyes, and their watching of Signhood with the dumb gluttony of hogs staring at fodder. The only side that turns your stomach more is Signhood himself, trying to wriggle free of his own lies.
Maestro Galvino and I came to an agreement. It was for the good of Stalwart. I thought...
You thought you'd let a killer walk among us?
Rise of fierce agreement rise from the others. What began as a collective grumbling is swelling and congealing like storm clouds. You look back at your husband, he's whispering to Uldric, but when you catch his eye, he directs a silent supplication to you.
Let's go.
A wet smack draws your attention back to the other end of the room. Someone's throwing a potato in. Sinnohead cringes and rubs his jaw. You want to shout at them all for this nonsense and waste, but you know this is about to get worse. Stalwart will have blood, and Galvino and his horror had the sense to flee already. You turn again, and your husband is beckoning you with swift, chopping motions. But what stops your breath is Uldric. His little eyes are fixed on the churning mob. You knew ever since you started hearing about those hideous purges that he'd see something like this one day. But did it have to be so soon? It's what drove the devil woman to madness, and now his little eyes have gotten big enough to swallow the whole scene, and now he's seeing you as a part of it. You want to leave now, but if you do, this is what your boy will remember: cowardice and madness. About people, about Stalwart, about you. The people around you jostle and bark in their rage. They're dangerous animals, but animals nonetheless. They just need to be led. So you push your way to the end of the room where Signhood trembles in a puddle of his own piss.
Enough.
Your voice boils from your throat. The others fall silent, watching you. They listen, dumbly trusting as you turn Signhood's death sentence into an exile. No one contradicts you when you explain that he's going to march out of this village alone and into whatever miserable hamlet will have him. They silently agree when you explain that their hands are too clean for the likes of him. But there's something else forming behind their eyes, a kernel of trust and dependence. You feel it curdling around you, encasing you like a pearl does sand. You only wanted to spare Signhood's life, not volunteer for his job, but you see so much fear simmering just beneath their expressions. Fear at God, men marching through the... hold on. Sorry about that. Fear at Godmen marching through the mountains, at Deerwoodens and their purges, at dying the snow and lonely death of ghost towns. And you see their grateful reassurance mirrored in Uldric's expression. Perhaps this place is hopeless, but you realize that you can't leave it in any more than you could leave your boy. And the only person who isn't looking at you is your husband. He's shaking his head and his eyes on the door. You retreat from Guild's memory. Vivid though it is, it has nothing to do with Durgan's battery.
What's on your mind?
Damn. That's how she became mayor. Do you know where I could find Harmket?
Probably out in the russet wood, chopping timber.
She eyes the double of Karak.
We're not really going to do this, are we? Tell me we're not doing this.
Why do you want to know?
A friend asked me.
Well, if you don't find him, just check back later.
All right, so now we got somebody else to take a look at. And also, I've been missing drinks. I probably shouldn't be drinking this much on a work night. So, cheers, guys. No, he's not there. Oh, I think he's up here. It's him, Armke. I remember that weak chin and those knobbly knees. A weak chin and knobbly knees can't be too many people matching that description.
How goes?
The elder man emerges into the clearing and freezes, staring at the devil of Karak. For an elf, he's tall and rangy, with a weather-beaten face beneath stringy, greasy hair. The others with him turn, glaring and gaping at the bronze golem.
Auroch's shadow. What's that wicked thing doing here?
Why are you so nervous?
It's a killer! Look, we don't want no trouble. Just trying to do our work. We'd be much obliged if you'd leave us be. And take that thing with you.
He looks at the devil with a mixture of terror and loathing. Enough, what do you see, Zircon? Is that the man who torched us? And the devil sways on her feet, her whole body moving around the axis of her ankles. Though she's talking to you, her attention, a concentration sphere of essence, is focused on Herm. Like trying out the Scottish alcohol for the first time. Good lord, it's strong, but it ain't no wuss. Yep. Do it. Who are you?
Just a woodcutter. Ask anyone in Stalwart. They'll tell you.
Armke, do you remember the village of Coldmore?
Everyone does. Let the raid Sarens into the Deerwood. What's that got to do with anything?
I won't answer, Zircon. If you don't stop his mewling, so help me, I'll rip them out of his head myself. Let's get this done. She's about to boil over. Read Harmke's soul. He steps away from you, but your awareness reaches through his trembling skin and feeble resistance of his fear. You see memories, snow-shrouded forest partitioned by falling pines and firs. Days measured by the steady swing of your axe. There are other moments too. My husband was laughing at me about it. You tell him. You tell him you ain't no wuss. There are other moments too, recollections that flare up like a hearth's welcoming fire. There are children, spry and lanky like you, but still full of the rowdy energy of youth. And together you scatter winter bloom petals on a grave. You reach deeper in Harmke's soul. Years roll back. A torch in your left hand bathes your face and shoulder in heat. All around you are other men and women holding the other torches, and the mountain air is acrid with a stench of smoke and sweat. Rage billows off the others. It's been a fever in your blood for days now, exhausting you and invigorating you in an equal measure. 1 second, chat. Alright. Okay, dude, where am I at? You're at the edge of town, Coldmore. Its hours was yet before dawn, but the commotion has started to awaken the village. Candlelight ignites behind frost-crusted windows, and haunted faces peer out at you through the glass. You begin to doubt yourself. And just then, a door slams. A villager comes racing through the streets, kicking up snow. With his stark white face and pale hair, he looks almost like a ghost. The line of torchbearers ripples as he gets closer. He picks up speed, but nobody moves toward him. You imagine him breaking through the row, shattering your ranks like the bad dream that brought you all here. You imagine waking up in your bed, The heat from your torch, nothing more than the warmth of your wife sleeping next to you. Instead, the villager reaches the row of torchbearers a stone's throw away from you. A woman advances from the line and buries her dagger in his neck. What? What? The rest of your fellows shout. Rage, memory, and bloodthirsty triumph boil up in you. You all came with a purpose. You came to bring justice to the traitors of Coldmorn. The next few hours are painted in colors more vivid than life. You put your torch to anything that stands and your sword to anyone who runs. It is as if Magrin herself whispers in your ear and guides your hand. Exhaustion has almost cooled your rage when you spy a house at the edge of town, one of the only buildings that hasn't already burned. It's flanked by knotty spruce trees, and the door is painted yellow. Yellow, a bloom of sunrise, the hue of your son's hair, color of cowardice. Just then, someone barrels into you from behind. It's a man, someone you remember from the journey to Coldmorn, though you can't recall his name. He snarls at you, mad with an indiscriminated rage, and it occurs to you that he's mistaken you for one of the villagers. You smash the window and hurl your torch inside. The other man has turned away. You think you hear a child shriek with the house, but it's impossible to tell above the roar of the riot. Harmke shivers as you pull away from his memory. His eyes are wide with guilt and fear. Spit it out, Z. What did you see? Her feet are rooted in the snow, but her limbs jerk and dangle. You burned out in your house. She stares at Harmke. You hear only a whirring mechanism in her throat, but Harmke leans closer.
What did you say?
What did it feel like? The torch in your hand, the blade you carried. What did they feel like? A wild and human scream echoes out of the bizarre machinery of her throat. It drops Harmke and his companions to their knees, where they cry out in terror. Gears squeak and crank as she pushes at him. Let me see something. Let me see something. Let me try something. Science.
How goes? Auroch's shadow. What's that wicked thing doing here? It's a kill. We'd be much... Just a... Everyone...
It's not that simple.
What did you say?
Uh-huh.
Man.
Almost 15 years I've been looking for him. All that fretting and wondering, and the deed's over in less time than it takes to tell.
My cousin said something similar after her wedding night. Karma got what he deserved, and that's what matters.
Then I shiver to think on the judgment you pass on me. I killed a lot of folk in my time. Felt their blood slick in my hands, smelled their flesh as it burned. And I always used to imagine what it would be like to have Harmka under my knife, feeling his breath come hot and fast, smelling the fear ooze out of him.
And?
Couldn't feel a thing. His fading pulse weren't no more than a powder of rain to me.
What do you mean?
This body, it weren't made for feeling. Gouging my fingers into Harmka's wasting flesh, his screams just buzzing in my skull. All it did was remind me
What?
that this is a madman's fever dream. Like a prison, but no, because in a prison, you lay your head down and you feel the straw soft beneath you. Your flesh prickling in the cold, black bread crumbling on your tongue.
You're right, that sounds awful.
I still dream on folk. I wake up some mornings wondering why I can't feel the floor beneath me, thinking I must have fallen and gone crippled. But then I lift my head, see a bronze corpse stretching out in front of me.
I'm sorry you have to go through that.
It's not pity I want, it's a choice. I dream too of what Galvino did that night. Those moments. I'd endure another cold morn if it'd spare me this fate.
What happened exactly?
It was after I got caught in Stalwart. They'd locked me in a little house by me and the old mayor and his cronies. When a crowd of them came for me in the dark of night, I was only surprised it had taken them so long. Only they didn't march me to no gallows. No, they snuck me to another house on the edge of town, real sneaky-like. That's where I met Galvino.
Galvino was living in Stalwart at the time?
True enough. This was before the locals gave him the boot.
Oh, not a question.
Still weren't a popular fellow, though. He was fiddling with some machinery in his workshop. Had his sleeves rolled up even though it was cold enough to see your breath. Never actually looked at me until he started fitting some copper helmet over my head. By that time, the mayor's goons had me trussed up good and tight. Galvino was having himself a grand time barking orders at that lot.
Why did the mayor have to do this?
He'd agreed to hand me over to Galvino for an experiment. Claimed it was a fair punishment, but the townfolk weren't too pleased at being denied their stone pitching. Didn't help that they heard the jangle of copper in that deal. In the end, that's what sent Galvino and the old mayor packing. So while Galvino's fastening that helmet over my head and them copper bands around my arms, I'm starting to look at his contraption. And that's when I see it. It's this metal suit strapped into the machine just like me. A cold, dead-eyed thing, all done up with fancy carvings and such.
Should have thought.
You think I didn't? I start asking Galvino and the rest of them what's going on, but they're too busy to answer. Then suddenly, they're waiting, staring at me with that fixed, horrified look. But they ain't watching me. They're watching for something to happen. Galvino tells the woman nearest the machine to flip the handle. And then, just pain. Being torn apart every which way, feeling my soul peeled from my body. By the time I came to, I couldn't feel a thing. Just this dull, distant sort of ache.
I heard the old man cackling and chattering. When I saw him looming over me, looking down at me with hungry eyes, I tried to scream, tried to swing at him.
I think that was when I knew.
How could anyone put another person through something so terrible?
I reckon I'm the wrong person for that sort of question. But if it cools your conscience, Galvino didn't get off easy. The rest of Stalwart didn't take kindly to having a killer in their midst, nor to seeing their mayor and the army Valians strike a secret deal. They drove Galvino out, destroyed a fortune in machinery, and wrote a letter to the Academy in Salona, ruining what was left of his name. Still, he's lucky he didn't get a pelting. The old mayor fled too, and Stalwart's been as snug and cheery as ever.
Now that we've dealt with Harmke, why have you stuck around?
You're better company than Galvino.
She says in an offhand, teasing fashion, but she looks away from you, fidgeting with the rivet.
Been a while since I were out in the world. Guess I'm keen on seeing more of it. Even if I'm stuck with a bleeding heart. Anyways, I've been wondering about that fortress.
Durgan's battery? What about it?
Near everyone thinks it'll have just the thing they need. Those villagers wanted to fix up their brook downtown. Galvino always thought it carried some great secret of Animanson, and all them adventurers came looking for fancy gear.
What were you hoping to find?
I don't know. Something to help me feel, or forget. Effigy's eyes, maybe just something new.
The tips of her metal fingers clacked together.
I just figured, with those dwarves being expert smiths and all, maybe they had something to unmake me. Put me back into my body.
At best, you'd be a vampire. Come to think of it, that might suit you.
You got a real knack for finding the upside.
I wanted to ask you about something. Oh, that's it? Okay. We're gonna go back to Stalwart. We're gonna talk to Reglina. And if nothing happens, I'll make a hard save and reload and see how it goes without killing him. By saying that he's not responsible.